Hi, I'm Wiggins. I'm going to do a demonstration today on how to prune ornamental grasses. I'm doing this on a mild day in late February, which is a good time to be doing this. This is one really important thing that you really must do with ornamental grass. If you don't cut them down hard at this time every year, what will happen is the new growth will come up through last year's dead straw-like growth, and once it comes up through there, it'll just look untidy. Once they're all intermingled, there's no way you can then selectively prune out last year's dead stems. So it's a pretty straightforward process. It varies a little bit from plant to plant. This particular one is a miscanthus. It's Miscanthus sinensis Klein Fontaine, which if you know your German, or you might guess anyway, means small fountain. And although it looks quite large, it is quite a small grass for this particular species. These will often grow to 2 meters or more height and width, so they're big ornamental grasses, very statuesque. This particular one will pretty well die up right down to the ground in the winter. I've not done it prior to this because they do look attractive in their dead, as it were, state, and they will stand through the winter like this. Plus it's good to wait till the end of the winter before pruning because it gives them a measure of protection. So this particular genus you can be pretty ruthless with, and the normal procedure is to cut them down really hard, pretty well close to the ground. So something like this. So really close. You can see I'm doing this with a pair of secateurs. If you've got a lot to do, a big pair of loppers, or even some really sturdy garden shears if you've got a bit of strength in the arms, and you will get through the task a lot quicker. So you go through all the way around, cutting it right down, and you probably can't see from there, but as I make these cuts, I'm pretty well cutting into dead stems. Some of the varieties, when you cut them really hard, you'll see that there's still green life down in the bottom, which you don't want to be cutting into too much. You'll see a bit of that, but it really is as simple as this. So I'm going to quickly finish this one all the way through. And then this, as things start to warm up in the spring, will shoot again, and you'll get a complete new head of lovely foliage for this year. So that's the treatment for Miscanthus sinensis. Most other ornamental grasses you need to be a little bit more careful with, because a lot of them won't die back right down to the base. This one behind me here, this is Pennisetum alopecuroides Hameln. I'm giving them their full botanical names because if you use common names, they're very interchangeable. A lot of people have different common names for the same plant, so most professionals will tend to use the botanical names, and it's not showing off, it's just that it's accurate and everyone knows what you're talking about. So with these, as with a lot of ornamental grasses, you're going to leave about 9 inches or so, because otherwise you're cutting into live stuff. And the best way to, with these smaller ones, is if you pull it up into like a top knot, you can cut a whole lot off at one go, and you can be a lot more efficient. And there's that one done in a few seconds. If you look over here, I'm going to cut this one a little bit tighter so you can see what happens if you overdo it. So if I cut this one really hard, hopefully you can see as I make these cuts You see the light green in the stem. So all of these I'm cutting into live tissue here. Now if we get some really cold weather following this, that's not going to be good for the plant. That's going to cause it some harm. So that's why with this grass, and in fact most ornamental grasses, you're going to come a little bit higher up, you know, 9 inches or so, and then you're not going to put them at risk. So that's ornamental grasses. As I say, it's late February. Good not to leave it too much longer now, because as things warm up they will start moving, and then you're going to have all fresh growth coming up you're going to be cutting into. You may have evergreen ornamental grasses. They're a slightly different kettle of fish. Generally speaking, you want to really avoid pruning them as much as possible, because the foliage is fairly permanent. If you cut it back, you will always have that cut end, and they just don't have their natural soft look. So I've found from experience over the years, the best thing to do is to try and give them very good growing conditions so that they stay healthy and green and don't get tattered and look messy. If they're in waterlogged ground or in a very exposed position, the nice evergreen foliage can get damaged and scorched in the winter, and it's really hard to keep looking nice. So the best way with them, as I say, is to look after them, and then you can just get away with a bare little bit of trimming and tidying up after the winter. So I hope that's helpful. That's today's demonstration on ornamental grasses. Thank you.